This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
And so begins yet another Farm Monitor experience, just like it has every week for the last 52 years. Welcome all. So glad you tuned into the show. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Coming up, the first few months of the year always stressful for peach producers as they look to accumulate enough chill hours for their fruit. John Holcomb reports from Musella, Georgia, with an early update on the crop.
Also on the program, we spend the day with Melissa Copeland Mathis. Who is she? And her incredible impact on Georgia's ag industry. We'll share her story, and then later.
Hey everybody, Ranger Nick hanging out here at the International Terminal at the world's busiest airport here in Atlanta. We're talking with Customs and Border Protection, looking at luggage and folks that are coming in and the prohibited items that come in that are ag related. That and so much more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
And we begin in Duluth, where recently horticulture experts and enthusiasts from all over the state gathered for the annual Wintergreen Trade Show and Conference. It provided an opportunity to get an up-close look at this booming industry while also making important connections. Damon Jones was there and has the story.
Whether it was plants, equipment, or even pine straw you were looking for, you could find it all under one roof here at the Infinity Energy Center in Duluth as it played host to the premier horticulture showcase in the state. Those in attendance got a unique chance to meet a number of the region's top vendors face-to-face and get an update on an ever-changing industry.
Essentially what it offers is a world of contacts all under one roof. It would take days, weeks, and months for you to be able to go and visit with all these different vendors and suppliers from across the country. It offers you the convenience of being able to visit with all these folks under one roof. It's the largest event for the green industry in Georgia. 3 full days of education, along with exhibitors from across the country.
This is Georgia's only multi-day trade show and conference, with experts holding seminars throughout the entire 3-day event. It's information not only important to the individuals, but the industry as a whole.
Professionalism in our industry is a big deal. We want our members and the industry in general to be up to date on different trends, but also on regulations as far as pesticide application and that type of thing. So it increases that professionalism. It's also a draw to bring those folks in, and while they're here, they can come into the show, they can meet new vendors for different supplies that they need for their business.
While there is plenty to look at in this trade show, it's pretty clear to see what this year's trend is.
Color, 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 color. What colors? Yellow, purple and red, blue. Never green. Green is not a color. The industry has kind of got to the point where we're kind of like decorators, and that's the trend. The smaller, because many of our gardens and our landscapes are smaller, but they still want the color element, whether it's a hydrangea 3 feet or whatever it might be, a gardenia with white flowers and fragrance, etc.
And that's good news for an industry that was in dire straits following an economic recession just over 5 years ago. But with the economy gradually improving since, it's an industry that has never been in better shape.
We lost 30 to 40% of our nurseries and production capacity. Gradually, it's being built back up. Building starts are high everywhere, commercial and residential, and that is largely driving the big numbered sales. And nothing but positivity. Everyone's feeling that this is a great year. Record sales, sold out in many cases, so our future looks good. Let's hope we can keep it going.
And that's important to the entire state, as the horticulture industry has a major financial impact on a number of different sectors.
The industry has an estimated economic impact on the state of $7 billion a year and employs up to 70,000 Georgians. And like you said, that includes everything from turf grass to pine straw to flowers, shrubs, and trees. It touches the lives of many Georgians, and it's an important part of Georgia's agricultural economy.
Reporting from Duluth, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
All right, Damon, thank you very much. Well, this winter has been quite a cold one, which has left many wishing for some warmer weather. Georgia peach growers, though, are not those people, as they have been loving the cold weather, which is vital to the success of their peach crop this year. The Monitor's John Holcomb explains how growers are optimistic about this year's crop after having some not-so-great years.
Here in the peach state, peach producers are relaxing a little now that we've had a pretty cold winter. The past couple of years have not been great ones after warmer temperatures ruined the trees' chill hours. According to the Georgia Department of Agriculture, last year, due to the warm weather, 70% of the peach crop in the state was wiped out. The winter season isn't over just yet, but growers are optimistic about this upcoming season.
Last year was, drastic in terms of cold hours and production. It was about, an 80% loss, or about 20% of a crop last year, so it was pretty dramatic. So this year certainly feels good. We've, hours have tracked to historic norms and just kind of really what you'd like to see in terms of chill and cold weather, and even got a little snow.
Chill hours are the amount of time the peach trees need to be dormant in order for the new buds on the trees to be ready to start producing. Chill hours are counted when the temperature drops below 45 degrees Fahrenheit and are critical for a successful crop.
Once they reach that, there's certain enzymes in the buds that actually switch over and say, okay, we're going from dormant to now we've gotten our chill requirement. We're going to switch over and start pushing and start vegetative and flower growth.
So far, the trees have gotten a significant number of chill hours. Different varieties of trees require different number of chill hours, but here in the central region of the state, the trees' hours have been reached.
In middle Georgia right here, where the majority of the peaches that are shipped are grown, we range from 650 hours up to 850 hours.
This time last year, they had only gotten less than half of the chill hours that they have now.
Last year, we were at the same time, right now that we're talking, we were less than 500 hours. At 500 hours, we're 150 hours short of our lowest chill varieties.
Chill hours are counted from October 1st through February 15th. They have gotten well over the number of chill hours needed, but Cook told me it wouldn't be a bad thing if it stayed cold a little longer.
And we also like for, after February 15th, it's really nice if it can stay cool. We don't want it to be freezing cold and we don't want any freezes or frost, but if it can stay cool on through bloom, that also helps with quality.
The harvest time is still a couple of months away, and even though they don't have to worry about chill hours anymore, they do have some other concerns, like the possibility of a late frost like they had last March.
Generally around mid-May is kind of when we anticipate harvest, so the spring weather can certainly affect that.
We usually see a little bit of injury, especially our earlier blooming varieties, from some freezes, but usually we're leaving enough fruiting wood and enough blooms that we kind of guard against that, and insurance against, some injury, because you'll have a little variation in the stage of development of that flower along each stem too. So you have some that are more farther along than other flowers. So, we kind of hedge against that by leaving a few more flowers on there and fruiting wood.
Reporting in Musella for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
When we come back, if there was an award for Ag Advocate of the Year, Melissa Copeland Mathis would be the leading candidate. And when you hear all the things she's involved in, I think you will agree. Her story when the Farm Monitor continues.
You had soybeans and cotton tolerant to a herbicide called dicamba. The herbicide is not new at all. In fact, it's older than I am. But the system is new for cotton and soybeans, where you can actually go in the crop, over top of the crop, as long as it's tolerant to this herbicide, and you can use that herbicide. So it's a new tool.
This technology was very exciting news to particularly our cotton and soybean producers. They have battled with glyphosate-resistant weeds for a long time, in particular Palmer amaranth or pigweed. Fortunately, Dr. Stanley Culpepper came to us and just wanted to make sure we understood just how serious it was going to be using these auxin herbicides in crop when temperatures, other conditions are favorable for drift or off-target movement of these materials.
We were excited about the new technology, but we were concerned because so many of our fields are bordered with yards and pecan tree, blueberries, you know, other crops that's very sensitive to this technology.
He convinced us that it was very serious and we needed to consider doing things on a regulatory basis to make sure that we didn't have problems here in Georgia, and that's kind of how the training discussion started.
The dicamba trainings that that we went to during the winter, I mean, they were very beneficial for the new technology that was coming.
The whole plan that Dr. Culpepper came up with, where we have the classroom training and then we have the one-on-one training, is very, very critical.
The one-on-one trainings were, of course, something new. It gave us an opportunity to connect with and work with some producers and see some folks we don't or may not for some reason see throughout the season. But it also allowed us to reestablish a connection with those folks.
The second part of it was the on-farm training by my local county agent. And with him coming out to our farm and being there with my employees in an open atmosphere where they could ask questions and interact with the county agent, I thought was a win-win.
We were ahead of the game. We had the right people there, Dr. Culpepper and certainly others, the county agents that all do a fabulous job. We feel like we have good people on staff here at the Department of Agriculture, and we can all say that it was very successful here in Georgia, and we hope to continue that success.
As an advocate for agriculture, Melissa Copeland Mathis wears many hats, and when I say many, I mean a bunch. She is a wife, mother of two, business owner, Monroe County Farm Bureau Women's Chairperson, Monroe County Farm Bureau Vice President, Director for the Middle Georgia Cattlemen's Association, GFB Young Farmer, Ag in the Classroom volunteer. Need I say more? When asked how she's able to manage all that, Melissa's response, a supportive husband and a really good monthly planner.
I grew up on a farm here in Monroe County. I'm a fifth generation on the same land that my dad grew up on, my grandfather, and like I said, all the way back to 5 generations on the same, raising cattle. And that's where I got the start. I grew up doing 4-H, going to DPA and doing activities through it, through our extension agency. I went to college and then came back and had the opportunity to be a part of this store with my parents and another local family opening up here in Bolingbroke. In 2015, we got the opportunity to purchase a second store, and that kind of expanded where we went. And it just kind of brought me back to my grassroots right at a crucial time when I was trying to develop a career, and the opportunity was just something that I kind of loved and felt right at the time, and it continues to be better in raising my family here and the lifestyle and values that I was raised on. Our classrooms, that's where I do most of, I feel like my advocacy is in the classroom, everywhere from preschoolers and daycares all the way to high school. We're currently trying to work on an ag careers program with our high school ag classes and bringing people in the industry to their classroom and talking about not only what the career is and what they do, but what type of employee are those companies trying to hire. So trying to get our high schoolers thinking about what they want to do for the future and becoming a hireable employee or potential person. So that's one thing that we're working on right now. We'll take chicks to several of the daycares and preschools once they start coming in March. We've just got lots of different programs. We do reading books through the summer. So that's just one thing I felt was seamless with my own children. I like to do that type of activity. So just giving others the opportunity to experience those same things is something I feel passionate about. Finding that balance is very difficult for somebody that does a lot. I genuinely enjoy all of it. So it's hard to choose one particular facet. I'm a part of our local cattlemen's. I'm a county director for the Mid-Georgia Cattlemen's Association. So It's hard to narrow it down to one thing. I know that I enjoy Farm Bureau. I love going to the classrooms. I wish I had more time for it, but I also know that I enjoy being a part of our family business. I have a business background in school, so I enjoy the facets of operating a small, family-owned business, but I also enjoy getting on the farms to make farm calls. So I enjoy all of it. There's not, it's just time management. How do you figure out what comes first and what to do next?
Yep, she is pretty amazing. And don't forget, if you miss any part of Melissa's story or others on today's program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel, The Georgia Farm Monitor. Plenty of stuff to choose from. In fact, the archive goes all the way back to 2009.
And while you're there, keep clicking and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page. Send us some feedback as well. If you have a story idea or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, send us a message either on Facebook or at the address on your screen. That is news@farm-monitor.com.
Hey everybody, coming up, I'm going to educate you on what you can and cannot bring into the country, including some of these things and how those ag-related products have been brought in willingly or unwillingly. That's after the break.
Finally today, Ranger Nick cashed in his frequent flyer miles, and this month he checks in from Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport.
Yeah, but this was no vacation. Nick was given a rare behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to keep our borders safe and how agents work diligently day in and day out to prevent any foreign pests from infiltrating the ag industry.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming to you this month from the world's most traveled airport right here in Atlanta, hanging out and learning about how some of the bags that come into this country and the people that come here, how those things are inspected. And one of the folks who you might meet when you come here and you're coming from another country might be Officer Mashburn. Officer Mashburn, thanks so much for hanging out with me.
My pleasure, thank you.
Appreciate you spending some time. I know you have got some stories of things that you have seen here that have come into the airport by folks coming from other countries, but I gotta ask you, let's say I come back from the Caribbean, I've got my luggage, comes off the conveyor belt there. How is my luggage getting to a place like this where you might get a chance to inspect it?
Well, when travelers enter the country, one thing we emphasize the most is if they're going to carry any fresh fruits or vegetables, anything to plant in their garden, or any kind of meat or animal products, that they please declare it. Declare it to the primary officer, declare it anywhere along the process so that we have the opportunity to inspect those items to make sure they're not carrying any pests or diseases that could harm our country or our livestock or our crops.
So, and by declaring, I'm on the plane, I'm filling out that card on the plane, I'm being upfront with others that, hey, I've come from this country, I've purchased this fruit, I've purchased this headdress with feathers on it, I've purchased this animal part. I want to be upfront and let you know I might have something I'm not sure about. So it comes here, it's declared. What are some of the things you found just today here at the airport that are agricultural products that you've inspected?
Well, most of these items came from Peru and some of our other South American flights. We have some passion fruits. Those can be a fruit fly host. We have some avocados. These are actually cacao pods, the chocolate, what chocolate comes from. Some chili peppers, and any of these can carry various pests and diseases that can affect our crops in this country that we grow.
Interesting. So I got to ask the question. I know you've probably seen a bunch of interesting things. You have any good stories? Things that you've seen, agricultural product related? You know me, I got to ask. Anything cool, interesting, a funny story that you've seen that you have prevented a disaster here in the United States?
Well, what sticks out to me, the very first time I found Mediterranean fruit fly, and Mediterranean fruit fly is considered one of the world's 100 worst pests because it is so destructive to so many different fruits. The first time I found it was in a perfectly clean looking orange. It was a ripe orange we had to seize from a traveler because of the countries they were coming from and the pests it could carry. So I started inspecting this orange because every time we find contraband, we inspect it for pests and diseases to see what might have come into the country. So I started inspecting this orange. It looked just fine on the outside, no bruises, no indication that anything could be inside. I started peeling away the outside peel, following our procedures, and sure enough there were holes just under that peel layer, and digging in further there were actually fruit fly larvae inside. So that's a caution to travelers. Even though the fruit may look perfect, there can still be pests on that fruit that could harm our country.
And that is incredible to know that you stopped this disaster that could have happened here. I want to talk about if I don't declare something, if I don't know to do that, how might you get a hold of that bag and look at some of the high-profile wildlife items that have come into the country? We'll do that next. What we just learned from Officer Mashburn about the seriousness of this problem and all the artifacts that come into this country, knowingly or unknowingly, that they're prohibited or not. And I'm joined by a professional with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Brian Downey. Hey, Mr. Downey, good to see you. Wildlife Inspector at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. This gentleman is somebody you may encounter if you come into the country through Customs and Border Protection. Maybe you're coming from the Caribbean. Maybe you're coming from South America. Coming in, you may interact with this gentleman. Sir, tell us, we're looking at some things on this table right here, some of the high-profile items that have come in. Tell us about the interaction you and I may have if I'm coming back from the Bahamas and I've got a suitcase and how we would interact.
Okay. Well, Nick, what we would do is that we will allow you to declare these items to us. You will verbally declare or electronically declare over in immigration. Okay. Once you're completed there, if you declare what you have, you'll be secondary to Fish and Wildlife and Agriculture area for an inspection. Okay. We will inspect your luggage, and then we will, look at what you've imported. From there, if you have something prohibited, we're going to request and determine whether or not you have a permit to import them. If you do not have a permit, then we're going to seize those items. A lot of things are confiscated that way because there are no permits.
And would you say that most of the stuff you're seeing, folks don't know that it's prohibited? They're just kind of ignorant to that, or they know and they're trying to hide it? What would you say?
Majority of the time, most Americans that have been on travel, they're just not aware. Those who are, say, in the business, they are, and they're trying to smuggle or get away with, importing something prohibited.
Yes. So the law enforcement side of this is incredible. And think about the things that could be attached to these items, insects and other things that could influence the ag industry. I want to go look at the Beagle Brigade next and talk about that side of the inspection. But what an interesting look at some of this stuff. So let's go there next. Well, it's incredible work going on behind the scenes here at the world's most traveled airport here in Atlanta. You know, that bag that we looked at earlier with Officer Mashburn, those agricultural products, that was a declaration. I declared that, let's say, on a flight. She had a chance to look at it. There's also a way that maybe I could get randomly selected to go and have that bag be inspected. Now, what about this third way that involved that Chevy, the Beagle? Officer Mashburn, tell us about that, what the viewers are looking at now.
Well, we have agriculture detector dogs that are just trained to sniff out fruits and vegetables and meat products. So that way, if a traveler forgets that they put something in their bag, or if unfortunately they tried to smuggle it in their bag, those dogs are there to sniff out anything.
And you saw Chevy there stopping me. We got down, found that apple in there, and I got to ask, when they found that apple, Chevy found that, what happens to that? That's not just thrown into a dumpster somewhere. What happens to that to keep things safe?
No, once we find any kind of agriculture contraband that could have something dangerous on it, it goes to a steam sterilizer. That's basically like a giant autoclave that steams the product until it's going to kill any pests or disease that's on it.
That's incredible. The seriousness of this issue. Officer Mashburn, thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you have been inspired by this segment and the work that these great folks do, I want you to take a look at this billboard that I'm standing in front of. If you're interested in this as a job, you ought to think about clicking on going to that website and checking that out. While you're online, you might want to check out the Farm Monitor Facebook page and then scoot on over to the Ranger Nick Facebook page. I love it when you do that. And until next time, for everybody at the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you, as always, that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you right back here again next month. See ya.
All right, Nick, great job. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and with us here on the show.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.